And today's talk with Miss Tiffany is going to be about building emotional resilience. So as I said during the talk, you'll be muted about halfway through. We'll switch over to a live Q&A. So please type questions in that Q&A box. We'll select a few of you at the end to come up. And without further ado, let me introduce our fantastic speaker today. So Tiffany Kuang Van Loan is a mindset and well-being coach and the co-founder of Healing Journey SF. And Tiffany has had a seasoned career, 2 decades actually, as a corporate executive leading a variety of teams, and now is following her passion to become, and I guess you become, I should say, a mindset and well-being coach. So Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited for this. And for the first question, I'd like to get a bit personal. So,
Okay, we're gonna go
yeah,
there
we're
right
going there.
away.
So, yeah, you made a really significant transition from corporate executive to now a mindfulness well-being coach. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired that shift?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey to get here, Amy. And I wish I could tell you it was as simple as a rom-com moment where there's this one moment and everything became clear, but it was a lot more complicated than that. So my journey started when I was a little girl. I was raised by a single mom, and she gave a lot and sacrificed a lot for us to be here. And like many of us, my mom told me the importance of achieving excellence and success. That is really important to do in life. So in school, I knew what success looked like. It meant getting an A, it meant scoring 100 on a test, but occasionally I would get a B plus or a 92, and that's an Asian F. So that means failure, and failure had some dire consequences in my household. So very early on, I internalized a core message that success and achievement equals safety. So I took the same type of commitment and dedication into the work world, and I was climbing up the work ladder. I was getting rewarded for my achievements by getting promoted, leading bigger teams, having bigger scopes. And I was thinking, I'm killing it with this formula. Everything is working. And pretty soon I wore workaholic and perfectionist like a badge of honor. Working 14, 16-hour days is what I do. I prioritize work as number one. And that's why I'm like, that's how I'm successful. But it had a price. The price is my personal well-being and my professional relationships. But I was committed to my core message. So the tough moment really happened in my career when I had to work with an extremely toxic executive. She transferred to become our new leader, and this person was verbally abusive. She was a bully, and she made the work environment super toxic. And she thrived on fear and control and breaking people down. So I did the next logical thing, which is going to work with HR. And at first, this person was receptive. She said she's going to change. We had a big donuts and coffee meeting, and I thought everything's going to be great again. But it wasn't. Nobody really changes after one conversation. And pretty soon she went back to her old horrible ways. So I had multiple skip level meetings with my executives. And what they told me shocked me to my core. So basically, they told me, suck it up. She already apologized. Now you have to motivate your team and work with this person. And I felt like I was in the twilight zone. Did I sign up to work for a company that not only condones, but celebrates someone that's a bully, that's toxic? What happened to my core message? Success did not make me safe. It did not make my team safe. So I had to really ask myself those tough questions. What truly matters to me? And what I found is the moments that matter the most was when I was mentoring others, was when I spent supporting my team to achieve their personal best, to give them the tools and the framework to succeed at work and also thrive in life. So I made a really difficult decision. I decided to choose myself. I decided to choose my own definition of what success and achievement looks like. So I quit and I chose to go back to school. And now I'm doing the thing that I love the most, which is supporting people find their own resilience, live their own life, to find safety in their own terms.
Mm. I love that, Tiffany. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your courageous story. And I mean, we on ShareWell, we have support groups for people who have had toxic relationships, been in situations where they've been bullied. I mean, so many of our community have been in similar situations. And it's, yeah, there needs to be more spaces of healing around it because it is this cycle people get stuck in.
It's
So
a
thank you for
toxic
bringing.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Tiffany, I'd love to ask, because this talk is about emotional resilience and you've, really dedicated your career now to that. How do you define emotional resilience and why do you think it's important in today's world?
So yeah, emotional resilience. I spent a lot of time thinking about this topic. And what I found is most important is that it's not about just surviving life's challenges. It's not about avoiding vulnerability. It's not about faking it till you make it. It's actually about incorporating our pain and learning from our experiences so we can go through the process with more grace, with more poise. Does it mean it doesn't suck? No, it absolutely sucks. Does it mean it doesn't hurt? No, it does hurt. But when you go through the process, you come out with more poise, with more texture, with more nuance, with more confidence. So it's really important for us to remember we can't control over what happens to our lives. Like life is filled with uncertainty, lots of external and internal factors. So we have no control over that. But what we do have control over is how we respond. And that's why it is so important to understand your own personal story and use that and leverage the tools and abilities to make it through those challenging times. And not by ignoring them, not by pretending they don't exist, but come out the other side more confident and more present in your body.
Yeah, very well said, Tiffany. We really embrace personal stories at ShareWell. And I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into, an experience when you felt that your emotional resilience was really tested.
Mhm.
And if you could tell us about maybe a key moment, and then how did you push through to the other side? How did you find that resilience?
Wow, we're diving really deep here. Yeah, I love deep questions. And yeah, so Amy, one of the toughest and most painful moments in my life was the son lost of my best friend. It was the kind of gut-wrenching loss that literally brought me to my knees. And what I knew about life and what it meant to be okay, it just disappeared. I remember us picking out New Year's decorations and her telling me, this is gonna be my year. She was gone in 2 weeks. I was heartbroken and I felt that weight of grief was gonna swallow me whole. And what I learned from this experience is resilience doesn't mean that we just push through. It doesn't mean that we are going to pretend that we're okay when we're not. True resilience means that you allow yourself, you give yourself the permission to feel this pain fully, to give yourself that grace, to sit in that heartache in real time and still choose to be courageous enough to get back up. So I allow myself to embrace vulnerability, to cry, to lean on my community. And also, I allow myself to not have all the answers. Sometimes I had no answers, and that was okay too. Losing my best friend changed my life. Resilience is really not about going back to the person that I was. It's about embracing that you are changed forever and you can carry that grief and you can move on. It's about honoring that person, honoring that loss, but also recognizing your own strength and your own power to get back up again. And that truth, that knowledge of yourself is truly powerful. It's a gift to yourself. And that's the kind of silver lining you can only get when you go through suffering. And that's the true definition and the heart of resilience.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I would love, because I know you have, clients that you coach to become more resilient. I'd love if you could share with our audience one of your favorite practices to strengthen that emotional resilience.
That's great. I think, yeah, especially after that grief story, right? We probably need a little like grounding. You didn't expect that. It was punchy. But it's real, right? Grief and loss is part of life. So instead of telling you one of my favorite practices, why don't I show you? Why don't we take a mindful check-in together? How do you feel about that? Take less than a minute or two. Like if everyone's game, we check if everyone's game. We'll just take a mindful check-in. So I know it's been a day, it's 2 o'clock, and you're still listening to this talk. So I invite you to close your eyes and make any shift that feels good to your body, and just listen to your body. And let's take 3 mindful breaths together. Inhaling to the chest, your throat, and take a deep exhale. Taking 2 more breaths at your own pace. Letting your body land. And now ask yourself, how does my body feel physically right now? Are there any places that feels tense or restricted? Maybe the shoulder or your neck. Are there any place that feels kind of neutral? Maybe the wrists or your ankle. And not needing to change or judge, but we're just checking in on how we feel physically. Finally, take one more scan and ask, how do I feel right now? Maybe I'm bored with this exercise. Maybe I'm excited. Whatever it is, just be a loving witness to this present moment. Take one more inhale. Maybe giving yourself some loving encouragement, loving touch. Yeah. Beautiful. We just did a self check-in. Dropped in and we did a self check-in. How does that feel from like pre-check-in to post-check-in, Amy?
It feels good. It also made me aware of how little I do that, like how easy it's to go from one thing to a thought, a feeling, one thing to the next without really taking that pause.
Yeah, we're often so busy, right? And that was what, a minute, two? So I always schedule a little bit of a 5 minute, 10-minute break in between meetings, and I just drop in. Like, even if I take 3 mindful breaths, I invite my body to come into that conversation in my next meeting. So very easy to do. Anyone can do it.
I love that. Yeah, and Tiffany, you mentioned self-awareness before, and we just did an exercise that really got us kind of aware of our body and
Mhm.
a bit of pause. Um, how can people start identifying some of their emotional triggers so that they can improve that self-awareness?
Yeah, I mean, perfect. We just did an exercise, and now I feel like we're a little bit more aware, right? At least where we're feeling tight, how do we feel? And before this meeting, maybe most of us didn't check in and we didn't know what was going on. And I want to also say that we were really not taught self-awareness as a skill set. We were taught what to do and how to think, but never how to feel. So that's the true power of self-awareness. It's really owning your own story and kind of diving deep into our emotions to kind of get a sense of what is our default pattern? What's my source code? What triggers me? What are some of my patterns? And from that place of clarity, then we can make a different choice. We can rewrite our story in the future. And I see it as like a 3-step approach. The first step, we have to get curious about what we're feeling. And I know this is not a comfortable step because diving into difficult emotions is not easy and we're wired to avoid discomfort. So I know I'm asking you guys to do something that is not easy, but that's the only way for us to identify that pattern, that trigger. So once you start feeling some of the emotions, and maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're angry, maybe you're feeling your heartbeat is faster. Some people experience more physical sensations, maybe the heart beats faster, sweaty palms, maybe even a constriction of the throat. Like we want to say something, but we can't. Some people sense it in a more emotional way. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed. Some people is more behavioral. I want to lash out, I'm going to, or I want to leave. Whatever it is, we want to first pause and ask, what is happening and why? And just name that emotion. And an example of that can be, I feel really defensive right now because my coworker criticized me or gave me feedback at a presentation. And that didn't make me feel good. I felt like I wasn't good enough. So that's the first step, is just to get curious. And when you notice something is happening, something doesn't feel right, pause and ask yourself, what is happening and why? So that's the first step. The second step is to kind of investigate. Let's explore that story. What am I telling myself? What is the story in my head right now? And what is the truth? And are there any situations that I felt this way before? So let's go back to the coworker example. So my coworker doesn't respect me. She thinks I'm incompetent. And that's why she gave me feedback on my presentation. So let's challenge that truth. Well, is it really true that my coworker thinks I'm incompetent? Or does she just need to give me feedback? on my presentation? Was she trying to be helpful, but not in the best constructive way? Can we give her that grace? Assume good intent. And then we check in. Where else did I feel that way? Does criticism equal unworthiness to me? Is it hard for me to receive criticism? So this is where we track. Trigger, criticism, and pattern is that I feel unworthy. So we kind of connect the two together. We're like, aha, this is when I get triggered. Now I know. And also when we name the emotion or the physical sensations, we know, uh-oh, when my palm starts to get sweaty, something is wrong. That's not the best time to respond. I gotta pause and take a moment for myself. And the third and final thing is to just track your patterns. Is it a certain individual that always irks me? Is it that coworker, that friend, or that family member that always irks me? Is it certain situations or events that will activate my emotions? Or do certain emotions kind of send me into a tailspin? Is it anger? Is it shame? What is it? So like start journaling your experience and then you'll be able to track it. And then from that place of clarity and deep knowing about yourself, then you can rewrite that story and choose differently from a place of clarity.
I love that. That's really powerful, Tiffany. And I think this leads into kind of an experiential thing. You talk about, in your work, negative self-talk and leading into self-compassion. Can
Mm-hmm.
you walk us through an exercise that would help us get from that inner bully, that
Mm-hmm.
critic, right,
Yeah.
to self-compassion?
Negative self-talk. Oh, so fun. So, okay. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so dumb. I'm not good enough. Does this sound familiar? It does, because we all have a version of our inner bully, like Amy said, or our inner mean girl, and it always comes out. They always come out when you least expect it, at the worst time. So how do we switch this? Because they'll come in and they're going to beat you up or scare you away from doing something that is truly meaningful or challenging. So we need to shift from this bully maybe into an inner cheerleader, inner coach, someone that can help inspire us. So the first step that we can do is start acknowledging that our imperfections are part of who we are and maybe give ourselves a little bit more compassion and less criticism. And we can also learn to treat ourselves as we were to a close friend. So, Amy, if your close friend came to you because she made a mistake at work, would you beat her up or are you going to provide her some support?
Provider support for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you make a mistake, are you always supportive? Yeah, I know.
Definitely not.
Right. So I feel like we treat ourselves worse than we were to a friend. It's just about kind of switching that narrative and say, what would I say to someone that I love?
Mm.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think there's two exercises that we can do. One might just be a take-home exercise that I really love, and she is the pioneer, the goddess, the queen of compassion, Kristen Neff, and she has a great writing exercise that talks about how to treat your friend, how to treat yourself as a friend, and it's a writing exercise. So I think we're going to leave you that as a writing exercise, as an invitation if you want to try it. But I think, Amy, you and I could do a role-playing exercise and we can bring up a scenario. And I call this evening the playing field. So we tend to be really mean to ourselves, but oftentimes your inner critic, your inner bully, your inner mean girl goes unchallenged. That's not even a fair fight, right? Like we're so consumed. We have tunnel vision, and it's just the voice of the bully, the mean girl, the critic. So let's do a little roping exercise. And Amy, you can choose to be the bully or the mean girl, or the cheerleader. Either way. What do you,
Okay.
what do you want to be? We're gonna
Um,
do a very
I'll,
quick exercise.
I'm gonna be the cheerleader in this one.
Oh, you're gonna be the cheerleader. Good. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'm gonna be the critical part of myself. Okay. So we
Okay.
can either do an experience that's personal to you or personal to me. So we can choose something that is not super traumatic, but something that's stressful that happened that the inner critic would have come up.
Okay. Let's do something personal to you.
Okay. All right.
Hot
Put
seat, Tiffany.
me on the hot seat. Okay. So I am going to talk about something that is personal. So, but not like super traumatic. So I just found out, Amy, that I did not get invited to my friend's birthday party. And I felt really left out. Like all my friends are going, and I don't know why I didn't get invited. So I'm the critic. My friend, maybe she doesn't like me. Maybe she was never my friend. Sucks. I'm not invited. Okay,
And then
cheerleader,
I'll be the
yes.
cheerleader.
Yeah, you're the cheerleader. I found
Okay.
nobody likes me. Why doesn't anyone like me?
Yeah, so as your cheerleader, I would
Mhm.
say, Tiffany, you are amazing. Um, so many people like you. You light up a room when you go into it. And I'm sure if you weren't invited, there's a multitude of things that could have happened. You could have missed the invite because you don't check your email or text often. You could have, like it was an honest mistake by your friend, or she had different, it could only invite 10 people and half of them were her family or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, there's many things, other alternates to that story that I could think as your cheerleader.
Okay. See, that was a very easy exercise for us to go through from a place of, it could have just been a simple mistake. Yeah, I am not great at checking my emails too. So, yeah, that could happen. So, we switch from a place that it could have just been an easy mistake. And I was really beating myself up, and it was very personal. Like, nobody likes me. Maybe something's wrong with me. I became like just an internal attacker. That became so personal. And those are the type of negative self-talk that really hurts who we are as a person. So it could be as simple as what Amy said. I missed an email and they still like me, or it's more like an intimate thing and it's okay. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tiffany. And I want to say that we just posted, our moderator just posted the exercise that Tiffany was speaking about, the writing one that takes about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you guys want to copy that, it's in the chat and do it after this. We highly recommend it. I'll be doing it. So thank you, Tiffany. And
Yeah.
then yeah, we also, Tiffany, you teed this up perfectly. We have different support groups on ShareWell too about setting boundaries, codependency support groups, like you name it. I love the resources that you shared. I actually only knew about Brene Brown. I didn't know about the others. So was writing notes. I'm excited to dive in. And yeah, with that, Tiffany, I just want to really thank you for yeah, showing up for the ShareWell community today, sharing your wisdom, motivating us, like great energy and presence. And yeah, I just appreciate you. We're gonna post in the chat right now how we keep, if you want to keep in touch with Tiffany. I know Tiffany, you do like one-on-one coaching programs, you have your website. I'm gonna actually post this in. I think that also has your social media, all the things. So if you want to keep in
Thanks.
touch with Tiffany, definitely do so. And then we have one more talk today. This one is actually mindful self-compassion, the one we're going into, which is a perfect segue after Tiffany's. So join us if you can. And thank you all for coming today. And I'm wishing you all emotionally resilient rests of the week. Thank
Build
you
your
again,
muscle.
Tiffany.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.